Hello, this is Johnny Cycles with CyclesGaming.com, bringing you a test match of my new Dragons Hydra Janky Dragons in Modern deck. This is a pretty good hand. Love to see Utopia sprawl into a 3-drop Planeswalker. Cavern of Souls to ensure we get to cast our things. So anyway, we're having a similar package for our Dragons in Modern deck with, as you can see, the Domri and also Kiora, Utopia Sprawl, Glorybringer that's familiar. What's not is going to be the Magda and a few other ways of making treasure tokens like Ragavan, Strike It Rich. There's a Strike It Rich, which now we're going to see the power of Domri. And then Goldvein Hydra, the new card from Outlaws at Thunder Junction. So we got 2 new cards from Outlaws at Thunder Junction that we're testing out. And we're looking to this is what kind of the ideal we want to play, right? We want to be able to attack our opponent, put pressure on them with our normal package of 5-drop creatures. Hasty threats. That's a great thing about Goldvein too, is it's a hasty threat. So we want to be able to attack down our opponent's life total until they, while building up our treasure supply, and then when in the right spot, when they think they've got us, we got the 1 card in hand being Magda, we play it, make a bunch of 4/4 hasty Scorpion Dragons, and then swing in. Looks like we're up against Domain, which is a very fast deck, and they have lots of answers in Leyline of Binding, which is probably what they're going to cast on this Glorybringer. So I think what we will do, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think we're going to dash in this Ragavan and hopefully draw out a Leyline Binding. Our opponent, although this also could see a Bowmasters coming out, to be fair. The main zoo doesn't normally play Bowmasters, but you never know with these brews. Our 3/1 now instead of a 2/1. Leyline Binding. Yep. Doesn't feel as bad to get got by Leyline Binding when it's against a 2-drop Ragavan as it does our Glorybringer. So we'll play Cavern, have to restart we'll name Dragon, and the jig will be up. Alright, and then we could run out this Magda just for a clock. And our opponent, they'll Leyline Binding and it's instant speed no matter what. So not sure we need to hold on to it till the late game, given what our opponent's doing. It also is another target for them if they want to decide they think it's a big enough threat. How many Leyline Bindings do they have? They haven't put any creatures on the board, so they probably have a lot of interaction. Number 2. They're going to go after Domri or Magda? Magda. And this is a Plains for their 3rd Leyline Binding, I'm assuming, which is on the way. Oh wait, a Goldvein Hydra would be nice here. We got a Goldvein Hydra, but Leyline Binding answers Goldvein Hydra, doesn't it? What are the chances they have a 3rd Leyline Binding? And is that a better... I kind of want to just... With this, the Leyline Binding nerfs our treasure token production plan, so I don't necessarily want to run it out into what looks like a 3rd Leyline Binding. And given that our opponent has committed no creatures to the board, I have a feeling that that's what they have. So even though Glorybringer is one of our best cards, it doesn't line up that well against Domain Zoo creatures, because a lot of times they get bigger than 4 damage, and also we can't target Scion of Draco because it happens to be a dragon. And if they don't have a 3rd Leyline Binding, we still are in a position to put a lot of pressure on next turn with this Goldvein Hydra. But I'm assuming this is what's about to happen to us. Or some sort of interaction. Tribal Flames, I think that's, I can't remember if that's one mana or two, but if it's 1x. I don't think it's 1x, but alright, so we got in there. Maybe they don't have the Leyline Binding. It's a weird hand our opponent has if they don't, unless it's a control deck and not Domain Zoo. That would explain some things because we do have everything uncounterable. But if they had a handful of counterspells, you think they would have Leyline Binding the Domri unless they just feel like the pressure with those threats are too powerful. Is it an Omnath deck? So many questions. Well, Omnath is not the worst. They've already played their land, so I doubt it's Omnath, but you never know. They needed that land to play the Omnath. Get to draw a card. Looks like Omnath. Yep. At least they're not gaining life. Now they can we kill them this turn? So 5, 1. They have a Solitude, which this deck surely runs Solitude. We're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's going to be Xaxes, I believe. We could have them fight. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh wait, we can't do that, can we? How do we undo that part? Is it going to be, we should have not have. Alright, I guess we're going to cancel. Undo. Undo. There we go. Let's do it right this time. Solitude would make us sad. Definitely thought this was the Domain Zoo. I've been playing so much of it. Solitude now, they are, I think they're just dead. I've been playing so much Domain Zoo that I'm expecting that at all times, but and they scoop it up. Alright, it always feels good to take down a Domain Leyline Binding deck. And it feels good playing Gruul again. So this is our best start. So you see that, right? Turn 1, Utopia Sprawl. Turn 2, turn 3, or a 3-mana Planeswalker. Turn 3 into a big threat. We played around their Leyline Bindings with some of our smaller threats. Stuck our big threats. So, feels good. What do we bring in against them? They have to be playing free spells, right? I mean, Alpine Moon can nerf their mana a little bit. Is that worth it, though? Veil of Summer, is that worth it? I just... What would we take out? Guess we could take out our Strike It Rich plan. Maybe try to slow down their mana ramp. Seems... I think Alpine Moon feels a little bit too reactive. Also, what do we name? Alright, we're not going to do that. They must have Solitudes, right? I'll have to go down a single Ragavan, keep into Strike It Rich. I mean, Solitude's an expensive card, but the deck they're playing is super expensive, so it's hard to imagine, unless they just don't like the card, that they would... Ooh, we could... It's a good hand if we had a second land and it was a forest, or if this was just a forest. Alright, that's unfortunate. They're also mulling though, so that's good. Alright, this one we'll keep. I mean, obviously we do have some ramp. We don't have action after the ramp, but this rolling vortex might be good. They're going to bring in Spell Pierces though, I'm assuming. And they have the Leyline Binding, which they can use to answer it. But if they're answering a rolling vortex, they're not answering a Ragavan. Do we run out the Ragavan or the Utopia Sprawl? See what we draw. It's definitely going to be Utopia Sprawl. Now that we drew the Kiora. So this sets us up for Kiora into a dashed Ragavan, depending on what our opponent does, or Kiora into a Rolling Vortex. Let's see if they just leyline binding this Utopia Sprawl. How greedy are they? They've seen our top end, so they know what's coming eventually. Do they save their answers for that, or do they try to slow us down? Slowing us down might not be a bad idea, given that we're on 2 lands. Well, 3 really, but then we'd be down to 2. Pick a poison. That's a good card. Seen a lot of play in sideboards. I need to put that into my, maybe into my Gruul sideboard deck. Alright, another Lightning Bolt is not the best. So we're going to dash in this Ragavan and force a leyline binding, hopefully. Get a treasure token, ensure we can cast this Kiora if they don't leyline binding it. Maybe they have a Lightning Bolt. And there's the Solitude. So maybe we should have ran out Rolling Vortex first. They do have the, I mean, maybe they're not playing Spell Pierce, but hey, they're down to 2 cards. Pitching to Fairy to get rid of that Ragavan. That feels like a win. Alright, hopefully we'll draw a land. We're playing 23 of them, and hopefully our opponent won't follow it up with anything too scary, like a Teferi. They pitched a Teferi, which makes me think they have another one, although people are desperate not to take a hit by from Ragavan. Maybe because their deck is full of great cards. The kind of decks I play, I've taken lots of hits from Ragavans and managed to win. I've also taken lots of hits from Ragavans and lost. Alright, well that's good for us. What do we want to run out into this with apparent counter magic? We can run out Kiora or Rolling Vortex. Kiora is the most upside. Rolling Vortex. Snow Covered Forest. Spell Pierce gets either one. We'll try the Vortex. See if it resolves. 2 cards in hand. What are they? Hopefully a land and an Omnath. Never thought I'd say that. But. Endurance. Alright, so they're going to flash in an Endurance. That's one of their last cards. That must just be in their main deck to fight against graveyards. And why take it out? It does have reach. They put their graveyard back into their... That's nice for them. That gives them a little bit of a clock. Alright, 1 card in hand. They're on a 15-turn clock. Is their last card Omnath. So we have to pay a red for the life gain not to happen, but they're not going to gain life off Omnath this turn. The One Ring. That's a pretty good last card, opponent. Pretty good last card. Alright. Now digging for answers. This gives us a chance to set up with Kiora and possibly see what we draw. We kind of just want to make land drops or find some action in some form or fashion. Now the Kiora is not really where we wanted it to be yet. So we need to definitely hold up this red source for nerfing any life gain from our opponent. Opponents, I mean, they're at an effective 6, so 5. They're going to refill their hand. Can they find answers before we can kill them with lightning bolts? I mean, 4 cards is so many cards. Alright, well, I'll just go ahead and do this now before they get priority to make their land drop. Assuming they always have, I mean, they have so many cards, they have to have a land. So now we are on a faster clock ourselves with these lightning bolts. If we draw another lightning bolt, it's possible we can just kill them. Missing land drops and having our opponent with the One Ring and an Omnath out is really going to be hard for us to come back from. We don't have any treasures for a setup if we hit top deck of Magda. We are now dying faster than they are with 7 damage on the board. There's a land. So then what do we do? Taking 7 down to 5. Alright, well, we'll pass the turn. Opponent will be going to 8 to 7. It's possible that we can kill them before they kill us if we can prevent their life total. So they're going to go to 10. Will they draw with the One Ring? This preventing life gain has been pretty good for us. So rolling Vortex, even though it didn't stop that Solitude, it is putting them dead on board. Almost dead on board, I should say. Do they draw? You know you want to... Oh, they're going to take the burning counters anyway, but do they have another One Ring, I guess? Pick a poison. We really want them to not play another One Ring here. I think a Teferi would be... Well, they could bounce their One Ring. That's okay. They're dead to their own the One Ring now. If they don't play it, they don't think they can... Well, we'll see. They have another land drop. They can make some manas. Their last cards could be counter spells, right? So we probably want to bolt on our turn. Force a negation when it's... They might have a force a negation. I can't... Spell Pierce is what I'm worried about, right? So we can pay for one Spell Pierce, but we can't pay for the other one. That's their last card, a counter spell. What do we do? What do we do? Force a negation or Spell Pierce, what are the chances? I feel like they would have Spell Pierced already. Anyway, we're going to run it out and see what happens. I'm playing around things. They only have 2 cards. What are the chances one's a Spell Pierce? It could be. Force negation seems more likely though. And they're going to draw, trying to dig for something. Force negation, they have the mana to cast on their turn anyway, so it might have been make more sense just to wait until our turn since they have potential mana anyway to cast force negation, hard cast it. Did they find an answer? And they did not. Alright, taking down the Boogaboo. That is one of the better mid-range decks. 5-color domain control. Omnath, I should call it. Man, it feels good taking down that deck, that's for sure. I hate that deck. I've lost to that deck so many times. It's like the bane of mid-range existence because it just does it better. Plays all the expensive cards, can grind out victories. Man, I miss playing this Gruul Dragon.
This is Johnny Cycles with CyclesGaming.com, and this has been another edition of Dragons and Modern. Be sure to go to my site and check out all of my original Magic the Gathering content, where I post articles and video of my janky modern brews in my commander decks. I'm also publishing a couple chapters every month for my science fiction fantasy novel called The Pod Kind. Check me out on YouTube as well. Click that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. And I'll catch you on the next one.